Hello and welcome to a look at Shadow of the Beast for the Amiga, a game that was made by Reflections and released by Psygnosis. The plot of Shadow of the Beast is that a child was stolen by wizards and then experimented on, manipulated, spellcast on it, all sorts of unpleasant things are fed to the poor child in order to mutate it into a beast that the wizards would use as a weapon. The beast manages to wrest control away from the wizards and realizes what he was and what he has become, and as such, you can understand why he wants to sort of get even, and that is the whole plot of the game, is to seek out the masters and get even. Now, I always feel a bit apprehensive when covering a game like Shadow of the Beast because there's two distinctive camps when it comes to this game and games like this. Either people absolutely adore, love, worship, and whatever they do with this game, or they absolutely don't. And since this is an opinion piece, I can only give my opinion of it, and I'm not necessarily saying that I'm right or wrong. It is an opinion. Feel free to disagree or agree. It's entirely up to you. But the game was hammered for being a graphical demo with very little gameplay, and supporters of the game would protest quite heavily and say that it was an oversimplification of Shadow of the Beast, whereas supporters of the argument that it was a graphical demo would insist that the gameplay is extremely weak. Let's touch on the technical aspect of the game, because that is likely what it is most known for. The graphical side has always been a big hype point for this game, and while I do agree that the graphical side of Shadow of the Beast is definitely on the better side, personally I am not the greatest fan of the style. The fact that it has 2369.4 layers of parallax scrolling doesn't really appeal to me, because that is a secondary thing compared to the overall game. Graphics definitely look very, very clean and crisp in that regard, but when it comes to something like the animation, I have always felt that the Beast's animation feels very stilted, even though people are claiming that it is amazing. Backgrounds and all that stuff are very, very nicely drawn. But again, as I said, the graphical style is not to my liking. It's not something that I would necessarily cheer for or be up in arms about. So it is very, very hard for me to say that, well, the graphics are excellent, but I don't like it. I mean, that is ultimately what I will have to say about the graphics. The sound department, the sound effects, they are very, I would say, standard. They're not necessarily bad, but they're not necessarily amazing either. It's just almost standard for the type of game. But then, of course, we come to the music. And the music is undeniably of a very, very high quality, and the compositions are very, very well made. The thing about music, of course, is that irrelevant of how good a quality it may or may not be, it needs to support whatever media it is attached to, whether it's a game, a film, or other. But in that regard, I can safely say that by and large, the music of the Shadow of the Beast definitely enhances the atmosphere of the game. Though I also feel that in certain areas the music seems a bit over the top for the game, but that is personal opinion. Controlling the beast feels fine, feels responsive enough, even though some people have definitely complained about the fact that it can feel like it takes too long to turn around. And personal experience, I can agree that at times it can feel like it's too, I wouldn't necessarily say sluggish, but you need to turn faster than you actually can in order to deal with enemies coming from both sides. Now, the gameplay itself, it is an action-adventure trial and error game, basically. And as such, you would likely need to play this game quite a few times in order to make any reliable progress, because of course you have to learn where to go, where not to go, what you need, what you don't need, what is dangerous, what is not dangerous, all that kind of stuff. And in that regard, when you are working with a collision detection, which can be a bit temperamental, I think is a good word, it can be frustrating that you can't 100% rely on being able to connect your attacks on what you're trying to attack without taking damage yourself when you are operating with quite limited health. There are health restore options, but I personally find that you usually get more than you need or not enough, depending on the area you are in. And of course the extra health, you could always not pick them up and save them for later, but if you do that, then you will still have to go through a damaging area in order to pick up the health you left behind, meaning that you can be in a position where you actually have less health after picking the extra health up than you did before, making it not necessarily the most reliable way to play. Now, while I have always preferred fast-paced games over more sluggish experiences, I feel the pacing in this game is wrong. I can't really pinpoint it, but I've always felt that it moves too fast without being fast. If you know what I mean, it's very, very hard to explain. This, for me, definitely feels off in some bizarre way. The overarching issue I definitely have for this game is the fact that because it's a trial and error game and because you have to play it a lot, there's an awful lot of transitions which are put in to hide loading, which is, I suppose, nice enough. But it just means that between games you are spending an awful lot of time doing nothing. And that is overall what detracts from the experience for me. The game is definitely more than just a tech demo, as certain people claim. But is it enough or more to justify playing it for any extended period of time? For me it isn't, I'm sorry to say. I respect it, but no, definitely not for me. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye.